And there's a moment in my process where I reflect that person back in like what you would see as like a mood board, a bunch of collages of images where I say, this is you. And either it's the biggest sigh of relief, but more often than not, tears. And that's what happens.
What are you excited about today? Like, what's something you're looking forward to and have some energy around?
Well, my son's spirit day.
Say
He's
more.
uh he's 6 years old. He goes to this really great school and he's been prepping, I think, since the day school started, which was August 18th, for his spirit day. And he woke up and, you know, like curated his entire look. Mom, I want blue hair because they're blue and white, like, and that's electric blue. Mom, I want football the smear here for the eyes. I want that. I need you to draw the logo. And I'm like, I'm what? Like I'm not on duty here for the drawing, but it was and then like I go to Spirit Day and it's like 200 erupting joyful children cheering for their teachers, cheering for each other. And obviously it's your own kid, but it was just this like, wow, this is the spirit of people coming together. Like it's like, oh, Spirit Day, it's
Yes.
and also like uninhibited children expressing fully, no one stopping them. Like, ooh, I felt it in my toes. And so I wasn't a crazed mom trying to get her kid ready for Spirit Day. I was like really into it. And I think it's going to be a important milestone every year until he's 10 and is like, Mom, it's not cool anymore. Um, I'll find something else. But ritual and, I think sometimes those rituals have been called woo woo now. And I'm like, nah, like UT's doing it at the Texas football games. Like there's a reason people come together in the colors and, align, and that's what was happening. And like also good job teachers and the head of that school for creating such a important alignment mechanism at the head of the school year. I thought, "Well, this is incredible." Yeah.
I love
Spirit
that.
Day.
I
Yes.
really want to point to something because you know this about me. I am such a fan of ritual and of marking occasion. And I believe it helps to mark us in place and time, in space and time, in,
Yeah.
moments in our lives. And I really love that what I heard and what you just named is a new definition of ritual, which I hadn't considered before, which is this alignment. And I'll have to go back and remember how you said it, but this alignment of spirit, of purpose. Do you remember what you said?
Oh no, I
Which
don't
is fine.
remember
Yep.
what happened yesterday,
Yeah.
5 minutes
Well,
ago.
or
I
5 minutes.
think it's an alignment mechanism is what I
A
call it.
mechanism.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That a ritual is an alignment mechanism
Yeah.
is gold,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think the mechanisms, I mean, we'll jump right in. As a designer, you need the alignment mechanism for the creative work to be beautiful, for it to be commercially viable, for your client to actually want it to have it in their home or whatever. And um, everybody has a different way of coming into alignment. So knowing your mechanisms, again, clearly this head of school knows the mechanism for her community of children and I also, something about kids in school right now feels really fragile.
Yep.
And she made it not fragile. She made
Mm.
it not be about the scary stuff that's happening. She made it be about the joyful possibilities that are happening. So that's the other piece of the mechanism, whether you have one for yourself or
Yep.
ritual with others, is that it sort of highest and best expression, highest and best ideals or vision is what I think it brings you into resonance with. Yeah.
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 So I'm going to jump right in then to this idea. You know that on Crazy Beautiful Truth here, we're talking about loving ourselves back to life.
Yes.
And what I am so enchanted with when you describe this experience is that if we talk about being connected to our vitality and our joy and our creativity and our uninhibited spirit,
Yes.
Spirit Day is what it's all about. And why did we ever stop? You know? So what
Yes.
does loving yourself back to life, what does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, I think I was introduced to you on that statement that from our friend.
Yep.
He was like, "This is what she does. She helps people love themselves back to life." And I was like, "I need to know her. I don't care what happens. Like whoever's doing that in the world." Um, well, I think life is a gift. I'm not sure I always thought that. I think some tough things taught me how, you know, our time is finite and we do have a choice with how we use our time. And I always have people on the front end of my process write their eulogy. I always have them face their death. It is inevitable, and I've always seen death as beautiful. Again, not always, but I've always come back to that wisdom that death is beautiful. Death is part of the creative process, and not necessarily scared of my death, but not wanting to leave my kids behind, or not necessarily wanting a painful death. Like those things I think I've grappled with, but the notion of death and changing form has always been something beautiful for me. And so I want people to confront the fact that time is finite. And that's what it means to me. If you're loving yourself back into this gift of time that you have, you're loving yourself into that is the greatest act of love, right? That I will utilize my time as only I can use it. I will do what I was made to do and it is this. And so yeah, love is like it's so such an interesting thing. I mean, even poets have a hard time describing it, but yeah, what a great act of self-love to use your time well. That's what I think. And I think you made a switch, right, from back to life to back into life. And I thought, what a beautiful nuance because back to life implied that I was somehow dead, and I was. Like, when you're stuck in the grind and you have a bunch
Yep.
of external success, there is a like, you do feel like the Walking Dead, I always call like the zombie apocalypse. That's what I
Right.
feel like corporate is like all these people incredibly gifted just walking around like dead, dead to this thing that you're inciting. I love using the word incite with you because I do think you're inciting the rebellion. That,
And let
yeah.
me just say for the listener, we are working together and Ushi is supporting my entire rebrand. We're going to get to that.
Yes. Yes, but that's what that does, that, back to life versus back into life. Well, if you're into life, then you're designing and you're iterating with life versus against life. And, you're not a finite point. You get to change. Therein lies the power, right? And
Yes.
into life, like, life is existing, life is there. It's like it's a stream, so you jump in and you're not. And love it jump in, that's the love.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I so appreciate that. And that shift back into life, that is what came up for me as well, is
Mhm.
there is a thing that we abandon and then a thing that we return to. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the abandonment in meaning it's just part of the cycle. To your point about birth and life and death, that we might abandon ourselves, but it's in support of learning how to come back. There are ways we can use that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, the randomest things happen. This is why it happened. So, I love that you used the word abandonment. I've worked with this woman, her name is Catherine Woodward Thomas, and she has this concept, she did, like, conscious uncoupling, and, she has this concept of, your fracture story. And I don't think I fully understood her what she meant by fracture story. So and then I had this other woman give me her pre-read to her book, which is hauntingly beautiful and it is about abandonment. And I thought to myself, well, I wasn't abandoned by anybody. Like my parents were there and so are my 6 billion Indian relatives. Like I don't feel abandoned, but I was definitely running sort of abandonment expression. And I'll say what I mean by that in a second. Because I also have arrived to what you're saying, which is abandonment's not wrong. It's actually a fuel or it's a fire. And like I remember being 4 and this person that like we highly revered in the Indian culture and in my life and was really connected to how we organized around religion and things like that and ritual and I remember that I hugged this person and was embraced by this person, but then when I came down as a 4-year-old, my brother was sitting in her lap with a bunch of toys. And that 4-year-old self it was a fracture story because it made me think I was not enough in relation to receiving those toys. Now, was that person's intention that at all? No. My decision and my meaning making in that moment did that. And then I got a little upset and I was like, okay, now I'm in abandonment. But then I realized a day later, a little walk, a little whining, give myself some time to pout, came back, and I realized actually had that mismeaning, that abandonment not had happened, I would not have anything I have today. It like poked me into my life. It poked me in to some things that might be perceived as negative, like overfunctioning and overworking and hustling and chasing. But I don't see it as that anymore. I see it as right. Like it, it's, and so and it's just, all of this is coming into like constellation for me this week. And it just, you just sparked that for me when you said abandonment's not a bad thing. No, it like, in fact, it is the thing that makes you yearn and hungry and move, and,
Yep.
I would never want people to feel abandonment, but sometimes I'm like, I say this to my kids all the time, "Just enough bruises to learn."
Yep.
Um, yeah, just enough bruises to reach for it, but it really gave me that sense of fire for the things even right down to, my yearning for knowing the truth and God and what does that mean and the universe. All of that was because that moment of I perceived not being held, seen, all of that. And now it's the work I do. So it's like, of
Yes.
course that had to be my fracture story, or that had to be the uh the igniter.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that language of
Yeah.
fracture story. That
Mm.
is potent
Yeah.
medicine right there.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
what you're describing, I experience and think of as a portal, right? That there's the possibility of a portal. And I'm aware that because everybody's entitled to their journey, not everybody has to do with their abandonment or fracture story
Mm,
what is possible to do with it.
mm,
Right. And so I certainly have borne witness to people who have those abandonment moments or those fracture stories. Man, that's beautiful.
mhm.
And who stay there and who stay affected by it and who stay attached to the identity that was created because it triggers safety.
Yes.
And what I hear you doing and what has been part of my experience as well is really claiming that as part of the seasons and cycles. And as long as we don't stay there, it's of service and it just becomes part of the color of who we are and who we become. So
Yeah,
great.
and that's why gifted, talented, and amazing people feel stuck in their life is because, to your point, that same identity, they're trying to get what they want with the same identity that was fractured
Yeah.
and feeling the fracture, right? In my case, I love that you're like, oh, that you've, I haven't moved through it. I mean, the amount of soul searing heart ache that had brought forth that I had no idea I was holding in my body for this long, and the release and knowing that, hey, like, here's a flower and thank you for that moment, and it literally just happened this week. I'm still gonna be, letting that unfold in my world, but there was definitely a significant release. And I do think that people who have those fracture stories, that's exactly the way to unravel them, is through, like, approach your life like a designer, because it's a really tactile way to, not be stuck in the fracture, not just define yourself by that moment for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you and I can talk about it on this side of it. And, I also bow to the people who are in it right this second. Um, because it's a hard place, whether you're 4 or 54 and bumping into it all over again,
Yeah.
or anywhere in
Yeah.
the middle.
Yeah.
So you talk about design and you are a designer. And I
Yes.
feel like, I don't often say this, but when I think about people and what they do and their identity, everything about you beyond your vocation and the way that you earn your living screams designer. Tell me what that means. What is it to be a designer in the way that you are?
Oh, yeah, I think it's, feeling into the invisible and giving it form. Sometimes the invisible is the words that you speak. Sometimes it's the actual thing that we say is a visual. Um, I always encourage people to, to get in touch with that thing that was there when they were 4, which you have one of those too that we've just named, so I want you to name it. But for me, it always was this, I feel something, how come nobody else feels it? I feel it, and the only way to make sense of the thing I was feeling was to, curate and to bring color together and to shift the shirt or and I've been fortunate enough to design in many, many contexts because I think, people get attached to my aesthetic and they even if I'm not maybe formally an interior designer, they'll ask me to come do their home or their event. And, there's a few people in my world where I've like literally touched every aspect of their life with design. So for a long time also I was like, well, designer doesn't really cut it. It's like I'm so much more than a designer, right?
True.
And until I did my own process on me, and then I'm like, "No, no, I'm a designer and I'm an Ushi designer. I'm the way I define design," right? And that's what it is it's this ability to feel into a person and, really the realized potential of somebody, the actualized potential of somebody or something, an event, any vision, and be able to bring it to life because when people can see it tangibly, it registers in the brain as real. And that's what I think designers do, right? They take that felt, unknown and they make it known. And then when it's known, it can be received and it can actualize and take form. And um, I never know what's going to call me to design. I mean, this morning I'm designing my kid's outfit for Spirit Day, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay. And you should see the way he stands afterwards and the way he looks at himself in the mirror. And it's so impactful, that ability to take the unseen and give it form. Yeah.
I love that you're pointing to that in particular because here's where I've become curious is what do you notice with the people that you've worked with? And I know you've done a lot of corporate work and you've worked with books and you've worked like you're an award-winning designer, like make no mistake, this is also your profession at the
Yes.
highest level.
Yeah.
And you've also seen a lot of people through a process. And so I imagine you've seen a before and an after. Tell me about that journey when you're walking somebody through it.
Okay, so a lot of times I see shell, harden. I've hardened myself. I've put a mask up because I'm surviving a culture that doesn't feel right. Or the culture, I love the culture, but I've had to be something in relation to that culture that hasn't been totally true to who I am. So, yes, shells. I see a lot of shell, like exteriors. And the exteriors are beautiful. I was always like just incredible people, right? But and there's little bits of crack in them because that's why they're with me.
Yep.
That, like, I'm like, I see you in there."
Yep.
Um, and there's a moment, in my process where I reflect that person back in, like, what you would see as, like, a mood board, a bunch of collages of images where I say, "This is you," and there's obviously a process to getting there. And either it's the biggest sigh of relief, but more often than not, tears. And that's what happens, and then there's a softening, and then there's a, "Oh, there you are," and then everyone's telling them, "Why are you glowing? What's going on?" And no one can describe it, even them. They're like, "I don't know, like something's," you know, and that's what happens. This shell is the mask comes off. Is it easy for the mask to come off? No, because the mask was useful for a very long time, and there's purpose to the mask, and it works even if it's a
Yes.
mask, right? But yeah, and I even do this thing in some of the coursework or in the talks that I give where I show the before and after of the people. And again, before you're like, yes, stunning, like nothing, everything's great. And then you see the after and people are like, whoa, like it's like magnetism, right?
Yes.
And ironically, the magnetism isn't coming from something well designed. It's actually coming from the stripping away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Say more about that. That is such a big deal.
Yeah.
It comes from the stripping away.
Yeah, and I like, the stripping away is you gotta so creative briefing, we do it. All the best creative work has a creative brief. It is my gift. I know how to creative brief like no other. And what happens is so what a creative brief is like it's the North Star. It's adjectives. This is what the project's gonna look like. A lot of people relate to it like a vision for the project. Really great directors do it both in visual and words and command with how they present their vision. But it's a set of materials and elements that say we're going in that direction, right? And I've done it for companies. I've done it for, you know, consumer facing brands that you all probably know of, to mom and pop shops, to tech companies, to individuals. And that's the thing that does it, is the way you align to the creative brief, but you do it the creative brief of you,
Yeah.
right? And the first step in the creative brief of you is gathering it all on the table. And not just you, a project, you gather everything that's there on the table and you go, that don't feel right.
Yep.
That's gotta go. That's not who I am today. Good for the time it was there, but we're going, that's it. And that's the stripping away. And I actually physically make people do that because I think it registers differently than when you say, "Oh, you don't need that anymore." Well, duh. But like, how do I get rid
Right.
of it? Yeah, I don't want that self-doubt here either. But just where
Yeah.
does it go, you know? And somehow, this is a bit of a mystery. I know there's neuroscience to it, but somehow when somebody pulls an image off their See Me Board creative brief of them, and it does represent that self-doubt and they pull it off, it really gets stripped.
Yes.
And then if they repeatedly look at the whole of what is left, the new version of them comes to be. So there has to be a stripping of what no longer serves you, of what is the old version of you, the old identity, keeping that old person in place. You gotta take it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something important or noteworthy or sacred about doing so in that ritualized way. It makes sense to me as a
Mm,
ceremonialist that, you know, one of my ways that I've learned in sacred storytelling is this idea of taking the story that you've told and you've been telling yourself maybe for your whole life,
mm,
and you tell it again the way you've always told it with the awareness this is the last time I will ever tell this story in this way.
yeah.
And then you make some notes, you do some bullet points, you either shred it, burn it, flush it, whatever you need to do. But there's a physical act, to your point, that
Yes.
allows it to move it out of our field.
Yes. Yes.
And, with respect, with gratitude, man, I was brilliant. Look how well I protected myself from all the scary things way back then. I'm not
Yes.
scared anymore.
Yes.
That's, yeah. So that it feels like a reclamation.
Yes. And like, I think the reason I'm not going to ever say I don't get scared, but the reason I'm able to make that declaration now is, and you talk about this in your work so beautifully, is that because I know how to deal with it. Like, I know I can sit with it without freaking out that I'm uncomfortable. That's the thing that makes me go, "Okay, I can trust myself," right?
Yes.
And, I can trust myself to do it differently this time. And that there's so much power in that. There's so much relief in that, um, it's not even like a dare to come and do it. Like, it's not like, "Hey, bring it on." It doesn't feel like that. It feels more like, "No, if the fear shows itself again, I know what to do."
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and the power in that and the agency.
Mhm.
And yeah. Um, what I hear is you're no longer afraid of fear. You're no longer afraid of being
Yeah,
uncomfortable,
that's
right?
cool. I mean, thank you for
Which is
reflecting
pretty
that to me. Let's
fabulous.
see, do I feel that? Let's see. Um,
Are you
yeah,
scared of being scared?
I think I used to be. I think I
Mhm.
used to be scared of all of those emotions, all of them. I was like, "What?" You know what? I probably defined it as something wrong with me, something to fix. And, it doesn't feel like that anymore. Uh, Sometimes it does. Sometimes I'm like, "Are you running from your fear right now?"
'Cause
But
human.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, did you have that extra, cookie? 'Cause you don't wanna talk to your fear. Um, yeah, but I'm not afraid of the fear. I think that's a very important distinction. I'm not afraid of the thing that's causing the fear either.
Yep.
And or what I think is causing the fear, or, I love the word of, like, poking. I'm just, like, poking
Yep.
the fear.
Yep.
I say this a lot because I get the compliment a lot, and I don't understand the compliment sometimes because people say to me, "You're so confident," and I'm like, have you been inside my head? Because that's not what's happening right here." And I realized the thing that design did was give me the rigor and the repetition and, and the routine to, practice the confidence
Yeah.
and practice the not self-doubt, you know? I mean, confidence is the opposite of self-doubt, I think, but I think also like certainty or affirmation is as well. So that's what I can count on. I can't count. I don't know when fear is going to show the head. I don't know when
Yep.
the imposter is going to show the head, but when it does, I have the tools to come back to my North Star, which is why I did the process and the CME method in the first place, so that other people could have that too. Because I always say the world's not going to stop worlding and humans aren't going to stop humaning.
Yep.
So that yeah, that. And I will wobble sometimes, you know, I will be like, "Wait a second. Do I remember what to do here?" Uh,
Right. As we
yeah,
do. And
yeah,
but I to see, I get excited about this place
yeah.
because this is where we begin to recognize it's all part of the process. I've been here before. I can move through this again. I've
Mm,
been here before. I can move through this again. And when we can take responsibility for ourselves enough to pull up and look and just be, oh, yeah, this is bad. This is really bad. But everything changes, everything shifts.
yeah, well, there's 2 words there's 2 things, a phrase and a word that I always hated until I met you. So one was the responsibility,
Yep.
and then we could talk about that, and then 2 was this, oh god, you know, like, I dare you therapists to tell me to trust the process again, like, you trust the process.
Exactly.
Process is annoying me right now, like, I
Yeah.
wanna be out of this process.
Yep.
Um, and and then, of course, I sit here now saying, "That's exactly right. We're trusting the process, and we're taking responsibility." And
Yep.
I was like, I probably fought that my whole life because you know, maybe assumed or defined responsibility as, like, the burden.
Yep.
Again, bring back the fracture story. Why? Because I was taking the responsibility to fill a hole. I wasn't taking the responsibility because it's my birthright to take
Yes.
responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And then also trust the process. Like I have this thing, I'm like, I don't want to cultivate patience. Like, you know, I really get frustrated because I do have command of giving form to just about anything. And so it was quite frustrating for me to be like, I can do this in 2 seconds, but it's not time for me to do it in 2 seconds and really
Yeah.
being okay with that. Am I okay with it? I'm like 98% there.
Yeah.
But it's still, I was like, oh, don't tell me to trust the process. But it's like actually the secret to life.
It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the way I look at is the process is gonna work us whether we trust it or fight it.
That's
So,
also true. Yeah.
right, the process will work us. Um,
Mhm.
so let's go to responsibility because
Yeah.
that is such a good one, and this is something close to my heart,
Yeah.
and what you're naming something that was my experience with the word responsibility as well. Is I could not hear the word responsibility without a whether it's literally my mother or the, archetypal mother
Yeah.
waggling her finger in my face. It
Yes.
was your responsibility,
Yeah.
right? You have
Yeah.
to fulfill your responsibilities. Like everything about it was constricting and binding and meant I was less than because I hadn't. It was usually a
Yeah.
statement of something I wasn't up to
Yeah.
or I hadn't done. And it was punitive. It had like a punitive energy. Was that true for you too?
Oh, yeah.
Or
I
was it a
built
little
my
different?
entire identity on the gap of what I wasn't in relation to being held accountable by others who were actually, for the most part, doing it in my own best interest because they wanted me to have the treasure of responsibility. But
Yeah.
if you define yourself by the gap of that or the not enoughness, or you've heard it enough, so that's why you do that, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a common thing too, and I see it with the people I work with all the time as well.
All the time. I see it everywhere, and this is one of those things that is such a work in process for me, and
Mm.
I deal in responsibility. This is the privilege. It is a birthright, and
Yeah,
what
yeah,
shifts when we do that,
yeah.
and sometimes I remember, and sometimes I have to drop back into trust the process, which has also made me crazy.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so what's different for you? I'm curious because you said that your relationship to the word responsibility is shifting or shifted. What is it to you now?
Well, see, this is the interesting thing about alignment, right? I don't know how you got here. So, what I mean by that for the context of the listener is that we connected from an old friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in 9 years, 8 years or something. for only because life happens, right? Like, you
Yep.
just get busy and stuff, and so, um and that person in my world would like anything that that person would bring to my world, of course, I'd be like, "Yeah, cool." Like, it was always, like, the fond memory of it. But the precision of when it came in my world, I was like, "Oh, this is like, what's happening here?" And definitely time is not linear. Um,
I had
because
that too, for the record.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
Because I was, grappling's too strong of a word. I think I was really, the dynamic creative tension of I hate like you like again, like you be responsible. I have been responsible. I've come through like I was really angry is the word. Um not understanding why I could see people in the world who were clearly not taking responsibility seem to have the things I wanted or really the impact that I was hoping for or to give. And that like sort of child in me reacting in my head. By the way, this is all happening in my head, which is like the argument. Um
Right.
in fact, it's like it always happens at like 8 PM when the kids go down because I'm my most tired, so that's when I'm like, "Come on, can I deal with this when I'm a little bit more stronger and clear-headed?" But and I love the teachers that are like, "Just go to sleep. Don't try to battle anything at 8 PM. Just go to sleep. Do it in the morning."
Right.
But I've
Yep.
never been the person that can just go to sleep. So, so responsibility is again, you talk about this as like the actual it's like the spark that allows the thing to go. Whatever the thing is, whether you're trying to be in a relationship or you're trying to get a project and get the book into the market. And I had always heard that like these people who I perceived had the success that I wanted and I would listen to them as mentors, they always would talk about this moment in their life where they just said, "I'm willing to be responsible for this. I'm willing my vision here, whatever this adventure is going to bring, I'm willing to take ownership of it. I'm willing to do it." And right as I was meeting you, I had that for myself. And then you gave me sort of like the container when you were talking. I mean, we were just talking about your like, what are we going to write on your website? But I was like, oh, that's the thing. I couldn't say it, but that's the thing that's happening for me is that so much opened up when I said to myself, for sure, I'd love for this to be all smooth and, like, but that's not creation, right? So I
No.
am responsible for the conversations. I am responsible for steering this ship. I am responsible for putting the contract in place. I am responsible for having the talks I may not want to have. I am responsible for how I organize my time. That's what I specifically meant. Whereas before, I think I was approaching it like, I'll just hire the team and they'll do it. Yeah, they still can do that. But when you're responsible for the outcome and now communicating to your team, so different.
So
Their output
different.
is different, their engagement is different, their excitement and the brilliance that they bring versus you kind of passively being like, "Then they'll do it. They'll take care of it." It's a very different outcome. So that's what started to
Yeah.
happen. And then you talked about I mean, like, I would love for you to share it because it's, like, so great what you were saying. "Oh, this is what's happening." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's what's happening."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since you're bringing it up, I will. And this is, and for the listener, Ushi and I have been working together. I've done this see me board, this mood board, and I've been that person who's been moved to see myself reflected in color and shape and images I had no idea why I picked. Now, I'll say that I'm pretty comfortable in the unknown, and so not understanding why I picked images. So that wasn't a sticking place for me.
Right.
Where I have people in my world who are like, "Well, I don't know what to pick. How do I know what to pick?" "Well, pick what you want. It's gonna be
Yeah.
right." "Well, I don't know how to pick." You know how to pick. And if you
Yeah.
know how to pick, you can take responsibility for the picking,
There you go.
right? And you
Yeah.
can take responsibility for both the knowing and the not knowing. Because when we take responsibility, we grow self-trust.
Mhm.
Every little increment of responsibility we take for our lives, we grow that little bit of self-trust. And it's not self-trust that I'm gonna get it perfect. It's self-trust that I can weather whatever comes.
Yes.
That I have, the resilience or the creativity or "Whew, I messed that up," and I can take responsibility for impact that was incidental and harmful,
Yeah.
even when we go to that place. And then I'll say, and we'll come all the way back around to, when we're working in the process that I work that you and I are talking about, there's a really important place for self-compassion, self-kindness, and really finding out what nurtures just the soul unapologetically is soulful, is nourishing. And, self-compassion gets a kind of a bad rap, in a different way because it can be viewed as self-indulgent. It can
Yeah.
be viewed as it creates inertia. Well, I'm done. I'm checking out. Right. And it's this, yeah, it is this self-indulgence that separates us from our brilliance.
Mm.
And for me, one of those things has been about artistic expression and making sure I'm painting or writing or drawing or working on prints. But there's something about the making of art for me because it's not a part of my living, right? I have to be disciplined. I have to take responsibility for creating space to create.
Yeah. Yes.
You discovered you were a poet.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's interesting because I don't still consider myself a poet.
Let's be clear, you're a
Uh,
poet. You have a published book. I have a poem in
Poetry
front of me
comes
we're about to go to.
I know, and it's like poetry comes out of me, and I mean that seriously. So I went through what I feel most people go through at some point in their life, and I love calling them the healthy bad breakups. One
Yep.
with who I thought was going to be a life partner, and one at the time who was business partners, and also who I thought would be sort of a lifetime sort of thing. And breakup's great in design because it takes away the familiar choice, it disrupts the pattern. And that I was at a place of, I feel, maturity in that point in my life where I could see that, like, yeah, this doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to scar you in any way. So I decided to take a year and walk the Marin Headlands. And for any of
Beautiful,
you,
beautiful
yes,
places.
if you know the Bay Area, and be in the redwoods and really just, uh, kind of take a look at the narratives that were going on in my head, and do the stripping away process. What of this am I going to keep? What of this is from well meaning people who were reconciling their own identities and then I just chose to adopt? Um, and it was really during that time, I remember just being in prolonged time in nature where I would hear like instruction for myself. And probably because the universe knows I don't like to read long-winded things, I was getting the instruction I was getting the instruction in bite-sized pieces. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
That's
working
a
really
handy
well.
feature right there.
Yeah, I was like, Give me the summary." Executive summary, boom. And it is a lot how I do work like that where, even if I'm working on your project, I start working and then I go for the walk and then I let the field speak to me about what it should be. And so then, like the cardinal will land and I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" And as you were saying, portal to some newer understanding. So at that period though, it was visually coming as like blocks of words. And yeah, so then somebody said it's a poem. I said, "Okay, I'm a poet." um and I really view it as like these, just like design, it's my conversation with the universe. It's what I need to know. It's my affirmation of an insider discovery, or like it's the trailhead, like, yeah, go down that road, or go down that path and see where it takes you. This is what I mean by visually led, because that's how my life has always been. I can walk with a question and I have an answer, but the answer comes in sort of symbology and metaphor. So sometimes it's poems and sometimes it's like a quite literally like I'm in the middle of nowhere and I keep seeing butterflies or like whatever it is, and then me looking that up. So poetry. And like I can't even figure out how to get those words again, right? I can't try
Yep.
to write poetry. It doesn't it that's why I'm like, am I really a poet? Cuz I have this like romantic view of Mary Oliver sitting there and like writing her
Right.
poet, like I've
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
It's never that romantic. It's the creative process. But yeah, and then the poems came and they do come and they continue to really reveal to me about my direction in life. And what's been really rewarding is that in sharing them, you know, like I had this one woman call me and she's well, I didn't even know her. She was like very distant person, but like I knew her well enough. Um her husband was going through dementia and she had said, I was reading your poems and it was helping me through that. And I was like, what? Like it's like this is why I think everybody is a designer. Everyone is a creative, because I didn't do it to help women who were going through, their husband losing their partners to dementia, the loves of their life to dementia. And yet, because it was my highest, best, truest expression, it at the right time in the right place made the difference that that was what I was longing for in that era, right? Was I
Yeah.
don't I wanted meaning in my work. I wanted fulfillment. I wanted, I didn't want just the external to look great. I wanted to feel something. And just the pursuit of that is what ended up giving me back to myself, first of all. But secondly, that's what became the impact like the imprint. This I always call it the signature mark. Everybody wants to make a signature mark because then again, full circle, that your time here is something.
Yeah.
It's living on beyond you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so measured. I think that was what was surprising to me. It wasn't a business plan. It wasn't, and God, can I write a great business plan? Like it wasn't a revenue model. It was like
Yeah.
none of those things that brought me back to myself were the things that I had put on a pedestal. And it was the
Yes.
poetry and it was the visuals and it was nature, the natural world that gave me back to me. And I just hope everybody does that once in their life, gives themselves back to themselves. Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
that's what we're talking about with loving ourselves back into life, is back
Yes.
into the birthright of all the vitality that you're claiming, all the Ushi magic, right? In service of yourself first so that it can be of service in the world.
Yeah. That's how I mean, that the Ushi magic, I used to like the same thing. I'd be like, "Oh god, I can't own that." And then I started owning it because I was like, "Well, they're all saying it. Like, what are they saying?" And it's that. It's this ability to align someone. It's their magic, right? They're
Yeah.
giving me credit for it. But the Ushi like cuz to me, the magic is like their visuals and the glow and all that. That's what they're talking about. But, when you see yourself like that, that's when the shift happens, and
Yeah.
that's the magic that they're experiencing, is that now they're wholly themselves, and let me tell you, nobody thinks they're not being wholly themselves. They're not It's not like they're intentionally being fake. That's not who we're working
Right.
with. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like, and this is why authenticity falls short for me too, the word, because
Yep.
I'm like, it's not inauthentic people. It's people who put masks up because they had to survive their life. Um, and because they thought that that's what they needed to do to have what they wanted. And
Yep.
also because some of them will lose their jobs if they don't, or lose their community, or lose their livelihood in some way, right?
Yes.
So I think I really don't want to make light of the fact of anybody who feels like that. Like, yeah, I get it. There's a good reason it's up. There's a
Yep.
good reason it's up. And in some cases, I do recommend putting it up if you need to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's
Um,
absolutely true.
yeah, but being intentional about it and being aware how much you're putting it up so that it's not becoming the whole world. That again, that shell of a human that I hear that like there's some things I've done this for a long time and we counted, it's been like 35,000 sessions. And again, it doesn't matter how successful the person is, they all describe sort of the shell, the you were past that. Remember I said that to you? I said, "Well, you
Mhm.
don't have that shell, so we can kind of accelerate our process." But you had that moment in your life where you decided,
Absolutely.
not keeping we're not keeping this exterior facade anymore. We're done,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's thank you. That was deeply of service and kept me safe or brave or whatever was necessary
Yes. Yes.
and is no longer necessary. And can I pull it out? I can, because there's not a room I can't be present in because I've become fluent, I would say, with my mat, friendly with the
Yeah.
different aspects of me that need to take the lead, right? Which is how I
Yes.
think of the masks, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're a stroke of evolutionary genius that we're even capable of having them.
Mhm.
And when they become the boss of us instead of us becoming the boss of them, do
Mm.
they yeah, they become a
The only
problem.
thing we know, that's the thing.
Yep,
Lots of people describe looking in the mirror and wondering, like, where did they go?
yep,
Lots of people, I really meet a lot of people at divorce or layoff or sudden merger and acquisitions. I meet a lot of people in M&As who are like, again, highly successful. Their entire life was centered around the company that just got bought out. And that they're like, well, now what? And
Yes.
I think my people will never be people that retire, so to speak. They'll be people that work till the day they die,
Yeah.
because of interest. They know how to enjoy life. It's not that. It's just that they're not trying to just work to sit on a beach all day. They'll do some of that, but they're always going to contribute. They're always going to be people who want to put something into the world, and I'm one of those people too. So I think that can sometimes prompt an identity crisis because if you try to say the same within something that's moving you to transition, that's where the pain comes in, right?
Yes.
But if you can have tools to iterate with what is natural to life, which is change, that's where that power, that's where that responsibility, that's where it doesn't have you, you have it, right?
Yeah.
And um yeah, that was what was so big about the poetry and the design was I was like, "Oh, I'm putting this into place and I'm making my choice moment to moment now." And, "Ooh, that didn't feel off," and we don't need to be mad, we don't need to feel bad about it, we just need to realign,
Now
and
we
bring it.
know. It's all data.
Yeah, and also, I mean, look, it's so obvious. I mean, this is like for anyone listening, this is how, concrete this is. I had red in my brand for a long time, and I would wear this red power suit that everybody loved, and I was like, "It's not right anymore." And, like every marketer and every amazing person, business person in my world is like, "You can't change your red. That's your red. It's your red." I'm like, "Maybe I have a red lip and I change it to white." Like, I just did it.
Yep.
And there was an authority and really feeling of like owning the body of work that I had that happened as a result. That's how
So great.
powerful yeah, that it's like I'm not asking people or I'm not talking about these like don't everybody doesn't have to take a sabbatical like I did. I think these small design changes can make a huge impact. And you don't even know that that's happened. I mean, look at it, it was like a red suit to a white suit, like it's basic, right? I still have the red suit. I'll probably wear the red suit. But if you ever go and you look at my posture in the red suit versus the white suit, you're like, what happened to her?
Yep.
That's that's what we're affecting, when we make these choices. Yeah.
Well, let me share my experience working with you because I'll say that when I saw myself and when this alignment dropped in,
Yes.
um, what shifted for me, because I'm a language person, I know that my medicine moves through my words and through my voice. This is part of my thing. I've known it about myself since I was very young. Not in that language, obviously. Once I saw myself, and there were a couple of images that made it in there that were like, oh, maybe no. And then when you helped me bring that down to a board, like a single page, right? And I had so many images on my board. And then we come back and we start peeling away. The ones that didn't make the cut made really good sense to me. I'm like, oh, there was a time and there was a place.
Yeah.
And, it's also representative. Um, and then what happened is the name of my model dropped in.
Yep.
My website copy poured out of me. The words began to move. Um, I moved houses, right? Like I moved to a brand new home with my partner,
Mm.
and so suddenly everything aligned at the same time. And you can talk about synchronicity or coincidence, which I don't believe in. Um, but it was incredibly potent to see that reflected back to me and to show people in my world. And my eldest daughter was here last night for dinner and she's 21 and we got talking about this and talking about the process and I read her the website and she's like, "Mom, that's really good." Like
Yeah.
it was so sweet to have that with my daughter. And I
Yes.
said, "Yeah, we did that board." And she goes, "Oh, is that the one you've got tacked up in your room?" Got tacked up. And I'm like, "Yes." And it's the wallpaper on my laptop and on
Yes.
my phone. Truly, it's everywhere. And I'm just steeping in it. And everything that isn't that is falling away.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like that's why we say Ushi magic because I know again, there's definitely neuroscience to it. There's definitely psychological like there's a lot of science to it, but I don't care because I see what it feels like. I'm like I'll
I'm with
just
you.
you know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
just watch people go through it. And it is my dream that every young woman does it. Every young man too, but there's something about when because I do some mentorship of college women and it's you one would think there hasn't been that much life lived at 18, right? But, there has been, and there is still
Yep.
stripping that has to happen at 18s, particularly because they are living according to the pressures and expectations of going to get a job and knowing what they have to do for the rest of their life, which is a bunch of BS.
Right.
Like, and it's still there, which is remarkable to me that that's still something we do to our young people. Um,
And our girls,
and
our girl children, our daughters, our
yeah,
young women, all
yeah,
the way through, it is all about, and I really think, well, I remember watching a group of senior girls, high school graduating senior girls. And this is when, I was on the board of this mother daughter organization. And at the end of the senior year, the daughters would get up and give a toast to their moms. And they would take 2 minutes and they would write this speech thanking and honoring their mom. And the first year I was on the board, every single girl bragged about how selfless their mother was. And
mm,
everyone's in tears and and I'm over here ripping my face off because I'm like, we trained another generation. We broke
yeah,
another generation to believe less self is better.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
putting
so
everybody else first is better. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And, the number of girls who spoke about like, yeah, no matter how tired she was, she always got it done. And I'm like, ah,
yeah,
you
I
know,
know. Yeah,
so I love
yes.
that you're doing that with young women.
Um, I also I wanna talk to you about synchronicity because you okay, so I have something I call the field of synchronicity, and it's a cycle that how you see yourself influences how you show up, which influences the opportunities you receive and then the
Mhm.
yeses that you receive. It can be an affirming cycle because if you see yourself as significant and valuable, you show up standing tall, you talk about your ideas with strength, so you obviously draw in more opportunities and get yeses.
Yes.
And the opposite is true. This is why you have so many people with a lot of stuff, but they don't feel the joy and the fulfillment because they are doing a great job at showing up, but they haven't shifted how they see themselves. So
Yep.
they're showing up in that old version. They're drawing in these people that don't love them. They're going on these dates that are like, blah, like,
Yeah.
you know, then and they're getting no's and now they're in the reverse cycle of like they're in the negative cycle of that. So I do believe you can amp your field of synchronicity, right? Like that is what magnetism is. That is how what I feel like it
Yes.
means to have stars aligned is that the thing that you're aligning is how you see yourself as valuable, as significant, as meaningful, as purposeful on this planet, as having birthright. Now you walk into a room, what happens?
Yep.
Right? I just talked to this woman who she's just got an incredibly effective model for getting women off the street. And she was trying to pitch me for some money. And I was like, listen, you had me at women off the street, but you're acting like you're apologizing for asking me for money. And I said, "Do you have an effective model?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Do you see yourself as a person who has an innovative model that she built from the ground up that has hundreds of use cases of success?" And she's like, "Well, now I do." I said, "Well, now ask me for money." And it's such a small little moment and shift. I'm not asking people to spend hours on this, right? Like
Nope.
that's not what did it for me. It was that. And so that's what I mean by that field of synchronicity. You can align your own stars and
Yep.
right. Yeah,
Yep.
you can be right time, right place, right people magnetism, which is what I love, like an all rightness with yourself. Like none of what I'm telling you is like, oh, she became rich overnight and it's not that. It's
No.
this. It's like right place, right time. I feel good in my own company. These are the things I think people are they don't know they're missing it. I think it just registers as stuck and
Yeah.
like a general malaise in life. But I think underneath that is this is what's happening is I want to be able to sit with myself for 10 minutes and be good,
Yeah.
and I want to be able to talk about my ideas with conviction and confidence. And I want to know I'm leaving something behind. Yeah. So like those are the things
Yeah.
that are,
And and also to have so much less to not have something to prove. Which has become such a big deal for me, over the course of my life where I've gone through, let me prove, let me prove, let me earn, let me show.
Mhm.
Um, and, I've got a fast enough intellectual processor. I could hang in those places and I can get a lot done. I got a pretty high capacity, so I could hang in those places. None of that was in alignment, right? Was it a part of me? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I've heard, and in some of the healing circles that I have been trained in, we talk about truth and authenticity are powerful. Like they open doors, but
Mhm.
alignment is what
Yeah.
unlocks those doors.
Mhm.
And that is what I felt you do with me, like very personally. Something unlocked. I was walking down the hallway and I knew there were all the right doors and I could tell because I'm peeking out the windows and I'm looking out the doors. I'm like, oh, this is the right place. Yep, I love those hills. I see those trees. But the door at the end of the hall was still closed. And it wasn't until I could get that open, which is what you helped me to do, that suddenly it just all made sense. And I'll say that I was ready. You mentioned this in a lot of ways. And I knew that because I've heard myself in the last 6 months say more than once, God, it's good to be me.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the thing. Yes,
I
yes.
love being
Yeah.
me.
I think yes, like how about that for an outcome? That's what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that I like being in my body. I like my existence. I like all the good, bad and ugly.
exactly.
I'm down with the oosh. Like, yeah, 100%. That's like yeah, it's such a gift. It's not a KPI. I mean,
Yep.
right? Like
It's not.
we're putting these like metrics on ourselves and our people and to perform. It's like if somebody throws another productivity anything in front of me, I'm just gonna like lose my cookies because it's
Yep.
like I don't think people want that. I think they want what you just said,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. And then the stuff I can get done, look out.
Oh yeah, you're so much
Right?
more yes, yes. See, this is the irony of all of it, right? Like, is that it actually does require less work. And
Yep.
it does. I mean, like, but
And
when
more
you're
moves.
and more moves and more potency, like the things that you're doing are, um, they take you further versus doing the 10 things that were just like having you spin in circles.
Yes.
It's really, I just want to acknowledge that when you're in that phase of chasing your tail and wearing the mask, it can just feel like a whole lot of pain. And like you're the only one doing it and you're the only one going through it. So whenever someone is like that and like I'm being overlooked and I work so hard and I'm being passed over, that's the thing. You need a healthy bad breakup.
Yep.
And you need to break it up in some way. And what I don't want you to do is call in such a thing that it's like more to deal with. That's what we often do. Somebody
Yes.
breaks their leg. They call like that thing comes in where it's like, and again, I'm not blaming you for it. I'm just saying that the circumstances of your identity in that moment is definitely drawing in something to break it up, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you don't have to let it break you up. That's the thing. There are tools
No.
to come back to alignment. And where it did break me up when I was younger, because I hadn't learned those tools quite well, yeah, I had to had a bad breakup. But
Yeah.
now it's like the quickness with which I move through those blips is like it doesn't touch, it doesn't tarnish, doesn't stick.
Yep.
Some do, which means okay, practice a bit more. But for the most part, the bounce back, the resilience is like
Yes.
I'm not wasting big dramatic conversations. I'm not reading emotional emails. I'm not like none of that's happening anymore. And if
Yep.
the second it tries to creep in, I'm like, oh, well, we're not
I
doing this.
see you.
Yeah.
I see you
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
I see you. I recognize you and I don't do it.
Yep.
you
And
know?
there's just so much less drama.
Yeah.
And so, for the listener, I realize that you and I are talking about this on the other side of it. And for the
Yeah.
people who are in the middle of it, it sounds
Yeah.
like, well, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Um, and it's true. It does sound easy. And when other people said to me, trust the process, back when I actually was in the process,
You're
I
like,
was a great big, like, F you right now,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
all the way to Sunday. No.
Yeah.
um, because that to me just sounded like
Yeah.
just
It does sound like wait. Yes. That's like
wait and
so
do
perfect.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's a load of crap. That can't work, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but the process is working you, whether you're fighting it or being at peace with you, life is working you. And
Yeah.
so I just really want to offer that as encouragement. I also want to read something and then get to your book
Okay.
because so I've had the privilege of having this advanced peak,
Yeah.
um, which I've devoured, as I think you know, as we've been working through this. Um, but the one that really struck me, and it of course it's relevant today, is called Heartstrings. And so let me read this. There is something only you can offer, tied to you throughout time with the flowing, honeyed strands of the Creator's locks. Come, Let's swing on them and weave our thick, silky threads through the beautiful frayed tapestry of life. Girl, it's
It's
beautiful.
also, it's beautiful to have your own poem read to you. Everyone should have that done. Wow. I I was like, "Did I write that?"
Yes, you
It
did.
gave me, toe to top of head chills, in my body, which is, like, my thing, my physical reaction to alignment. So, yeah, that was beautiful.
It's
Thank you.
powerful. It's
Yeah.
called Heartstrings, and the invitation, like, it just feels that everything is in here. It's the invitation. It's let's be playful. Let's acknowledge the you, the unique, like, I used to talk about the U-shaped hole in the universe that only you can fill, and if you don't fill it, it's just left unfilled,
I love
right?
that. Yeah.
Um, and so I hear that here, and this idea that it's co-creation. That you're
Mhm.
that we are at our best and finest, constantly co-creating with life.
Yeah, and when you are in the murk of hardship, you really don't understand that you're that special. You don't really think of your existence as meaningful or that you matter. I think a lot of people are facing that. Like, I just need to
Yes.
know I matter and my time here matters. And I needed that. I needed that reassurance. And, you know, nature gave me that reassurance for sure. Sitting at the redwoods and uh, the silent giants. I always call them silent giants
Mhm.
because so much of what they are they're in their steadiness, your word, steadfast.
Mhm.
And they are reaching for the fog and they are also reaching in the soil. And then because they're able to reach and integrate both, they are life-giving to the entire forest as well as I think it's millions, somebody who knows will tell us,
Yep.
of microorganisms and the life that, you know, it's capable of holding is so amazing. And that's where that poem came from. And or that was the moment that the poem came.
Yeah.
But I needed to know that really. I was like, just tell me that all this is for something, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
And
is.
it is, and your way of listening opened a door to poetry and to words for you.
Mhm.
For me, it's been about words, and, I just wanna acknowledge there are many different ways of hearing, but if we can stop and listen, something will show up.
It will
It is
show up. It will always show up.
Yeah.
And that is, there will always be enough. That's my favorite phrase. There will always be enough. Something will always show up. And you're going through what you're going through because you're going to help other people out of the same thing.
Yep.
This is like the shortcut I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
You're going through it because when you cross that bridge, there are millions of people who need that from you, specifically how you do it, specifically how that light flows through you. So that's where bringing that poem is so powerful here at, our conclusion almost
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like, I really do believe that like everything that seems like I cannot get through this is because you will help other people get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book is called Dare to Design the Real You.
Yes.
I know I have it on pre-order, so it will appear magically at my door at some point. Ooh, at
Yes.
my old address. So I better figure
We
that
can
out.
change that for you.
Oops.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and it's great. And every chapter opens with, I feel like it feels like an invocation or like a spell. Like you weave something over this
Mhm.
with the poetry at the beginning of each chapter that's really potent. But tell me why this book and why now? Why is now the time for this?
Well, the book is the book I needed at 20, right? I needed to read this. I had hoped I would have read it. But again, when I was going through it, look what I get to do now for people who might be going through the same thing, right?
Exactly right.
So that was one, and that was the first. I needed to write something. I also needed to bring my body of work together because it was also like I was like almost pregnant. It's like, and I already had my two boys. Like I was like, I don't want to have any other babies. But like I just could feel that I needed to gather all of this like data and research and experience into something. And I think we are in an interesting point in the world where people are tired of that grind and they're jumping off the hamster wheel and they want their time to matter and they want their health to matter and they want their time with loved ones to be the priority. And I don't think the economic models we have in place are supporting them to do that. And so it is a time that we have to reimagine just not just our identity, but how we do everything, the models in the world, how we relate to each other, how we eat our food. And so the people that I want this book to be, if you have that model and you have something of that level that you want to shift a paradigm in the world, you want to disrupt something that's not working, whether you're the solar panel guy giving them to people in Africa, or I mean, like the level of change the people I work with are about to put into the world is just like it gives me the chills. So that's why now. Because right now, en masse, people are jumping and they are going to make a life of their own. And
Yep.
I want them to have tools to do that. And I
Yeah.
can accelerate it. They don't have to do it the slow way. And I really do believe it's one of those books, like, of course, there's ways to go further, but if you read the book, it alone will help your life, right?
It
Just to
it
read the book. Yeah.
it really will. And back to, trusting the process. The
Yeah.
book will work you, whether you're working the book or not. And there are just such concrete, I hate to say tips and tricks because I'm not a tips and tricks kind of coach. I never have been. But there's a path. There is a
There's a
way
path.
laid
Yes.
that we are invited down.
Yes.
And I really, I can't say enough how valuable this is to anybody who's sitting in that place, looking in the mirror, going, "Where did I go?
Where did I go? Yeah.
Where did I go? And is this all there is? No. And you are not gone. You are here." And there is this invitation to step into designing who we are, to iterating, and to not throwing out all the success you've earned and not throwing out all the masks.
No, it's
Just,
part of it.
yeah,
It's
it's
part of it.
part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it all rolls into the design.
Yeah. And I also I want to say that part of it, what you just said, is owning the steps you've taken. So
Yep.
I kind of want everyone to write a book too someday because it's like not about who reads it. It's about you thought you were enough to do it. You thought you were, so if you're
Heck
looking in the
yeah.
mirror, yeah, if you're looking in the mirror and saying, "Ah, there's gotta be more. Where did I go?" You can find it by writing a book. And I
Yep.
don't even think you're finding it. Like, that's the thing I hate finding because it's like it implies you're lost. You're not lost. You're just misaligned. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing
No.
wrong with you. Yeah, so
Yeah.
dare to design the real you. That's why it's my
Exactly.
invitation. Yeah.
It's so good.
And you gotta
So good.
dare, because there's no part of me that's gonna tell you it's easy, okay? So dare.
No, that's exactly right. I will
Yeah.
say when I started this journey, when I started to really open my eyes, I remember coach asking me, "What do you want?" And I couldn't answer the question.
Mm.
I didn't even know. And
Mhm.
so she's like, "Okay, let's change that up then. What would you want if you dared to want?" And I was like, "Whoa,
Beautiful.
hold the
Yeah.
phones."
Yes.
And that's when things started to really open up.
Yeah.
And it was not all comfortable. In fact, I hated a lot of it. And it was just so of service. What haven't we talked about that
I don't know, I
you
could
would
talk to you
love
forever.
to? I know you and I just do that, and I love it. It's so fun. We
Yeah.
could do 9 parts. What?
Yeah, totally, totally. No, I feel like we talked, and I feel it's I also feel like I'm benefiting from the conversation. I'm like, "Wait, I'm learning something."
Perfect.
Yeah.
As we
Yeah.
both do,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'll say to everybody, get ready because I'm about to launch a big old rebrand.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I am so excited about it and so excited about what you are helping me to reveal and then what you are then laying your magic
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's fascinating that in the course of design, I feel more me than I have felt in decades.
Yeah, and you didn't come here for that. You
Mm-mm.
were like, "I need a brand."
Mhm. Yeah,
I
like,
know, I
pardon
know.
me, but I'm done fucking around. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, and Brené Brown talks about in midlife, life grabs you by the shoulders and says, "I'm not fucking around anymore.
Yeah.
Get it together."
Yeah.
That's, really feeling and acknowledging that, that call to adventure. So thank you for your work, for your
All to
heart for this,
adventures.
right? For your
Yeah.
commitment to this, for your work with me. What do you want people to know if they want to reach out to you or if they want to get access to the Ushi magic? There's the book. What else would you
Yeah,
leave them with?
just head over to ushi-inc.com, I had to put the
INK?
dash I had to put the dash yes, INK, I had to put the dash in there because, like, the 2 I's together is very, like, not
Oh,
designery.
no, it is not designery.
So it's ushi-ink.com, and there are several ways in which you can engage, and you can just choose what's best for you, but just get the book, and that will also give you your next steps after that. Come say hi to me on LinkedIn always, Ushi Patel. You can come there. I like to, connect directly there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect, and all the links will be below. So I'll say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was beautiful.